David Fillman is the Executive Director of AFSCME Council 13 in Pennsylvania and is a Vice President at AFSCME. He previously worked at the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and has several years of experience in the areas of worker safety and health. Mr. Fillman is a graduate of Springfield High School in Montgomery, Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Chairwoman Woolsey. My name is David Fillman. I'm the Executive Director of Council 13 of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. I am honored to represent more than 65,000 public employees in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania today. And as an International Vice President with AFSCME, I speak for more than 1.4 million public employees nationwide who are employed by states and their counties, townships, boroughs, cities, and school districts, as well as private and public nonprofit health and human services facilities. I would like to have my complete statement placed in the record. Our membership is extremely diverse and is made up of hardworking members who provide vital public services to the citizens of Pennsylvania in the areas of transportation, health care, public safety, public works, water and wastewater treatment, corrections, and education, just to name a few. But despite their various backgrounds, our members have two things in common. Number one, they confront serious and even life-threatening dangers on the job every day. Second, they are not covered by our nation's most basic workplace safety protections required by the Occupational Safety and Health Act, or OSHA. OSHA was passed in 1970 to provide American workers with safe workplaces, but there was a catch. The law excluded state and local government workers. Today, more than 35 years later, only 21 states have exercised their option to operate their own state OSHA programs. 3 other states, New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey, have a federally approved plan for their public workers, and responsibility for the private sector falls under the federal OSHA laws. That means that 26 states do not have a federally approved program in place to cover workplace safety for public employees. That translates to more than 8 million public sector workers. There are a handful of states, such as Illinois and Wisconsin, which have state laws that provide similar protection to their public workers, but which are not federally approved programs. In a few minutes, you will hear from Ms. Casey Jones, who lost her husband. Mr. Jones' employer was not required to follow OSHA rules that could have prevented his death. And even more tragically, the state law that was enacted in 1982 to assist employers to make their workplaces safe had been repealed by Governor Jeb Bush and the Florida legislature in 1999. Public employees in the other Gulf Coast states of Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Texas also work without OSHA protection. That means the public workers who responded to Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, men and women who performed heroically, were not entitled to any workplace safety protections whatsoever during the disasters, in their aftermath, or while they continue to rebuild those devastated regions. I do not have to look any further than where I live to explain what the lack of OSHA protection means. Neither the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania nor local governments are required to follow OSHA standards. For example, workers who must go into a deep trench to repair a water main break do so without their employers having to follow specific procedures or use equipment to prevent the trench from collapsing. Having OSHA coverage for all public employees is not just an issue of fairness, it's a matter of life and death. With the exception of few occupations, such as law enforcement and firefighters, the general public and their elected officials have little or no idea about the dangers faced by state and local government workers. A great deal of attention was paid, and rightfully so, to the Sago mine disaster that killed 12 miners. By contrast, public employees are usually killed one at a time and with little, if any, public notice. According to a U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics report from 1992 to 2001, 6,455 workers at the federal, state, and local levels lost their lives in the job. About half of these fatalities, 3,227, occurred in local government, while 1,224 state government workers died on the job during this period. AFSCME members, like other public employees, have died under horrible and gruesome circumstances, such as suffocating in a confined space, being fatally assaulted by patients or by inmates, or developing cancer from exposure to asbestos. I also want to make you aware of the many workers who have died across the country while maintaining our nation's roads and highways. More than 100 employees of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania alone, members that I represent here today, lost their lives while working on the state's highways. Hundreds of thousands of public employees are injured or made ill each year. For some types of hazards, such as workplace violence, public workers are at much higher risk than private sector employees. According to a 2005 BLS study, 32% of all state government workplaces and 15% of local governments reported some form of violence within the preceding 12 months of the survey, as compared to only 5% for private industry. In conclusion, I submit to the members of this committee that our nation's failure to provide the most basic rights to a safe workplace for over 8 million working people, the people who protect and serve the citizens of this nation, even in its darkest hours, is an outrageous injustice. To correct this injustice, it is imperative that you, in this room, support prompt and decisive legislative action. Thank you very much.